6 essential survival foods you must have before May 5th, 2026. You may think you have prepared enough. You have water, you have rice, you have food. But the problem is, you are preparing based on what you know, not based on the order things disappear. In reality, a crisis does not take everything at once. It takes things one by one, in a very specific order. And most people only realize that when it is too late. In this video, I will share 6 essential foods that you must have before things begin to change. But there is one thing you need to know first. The most important item is not on this list. The final one is exactly the thing that, when missing, everything you prepared becomes meaningless. And very few people realize that until they no longer have any choice. 6. Ready-to-eat food. The thing that disappears before you can act ready-to-eat food is not the best option. But it is the thing you will not be able to buy in time if you wait until you need it. It does not disappear immediately. You still see it on the shelf, but each time you come back, there is a little less, a little fewer choices. And by the time you actually need it, what is left is usually no longer suitable. That is not a supply shortage. It is the effect of human behavior. When instability begins, people do not buy things to cook later. They buy things they can use immediately. And that reflex is exactly why ready-to-eat food is always the first to be cleared out. You lose power. You cannot cook. You cannot heat anything. At that moment, you do not need more ingredients. You need an immediate solution. This is when ready-to-eat food separates completely from other types of food. It does not need electricity, does not need gas, does not need hot water. You open it and eat. While rice needs water, beans need time, meat needs storage, ready-to-eat food bypasses that entire system. And in a bad situation, the difference between eat now and have to wait is the difference between stability and panic. From a biological standpoint, it is not a perfect choice, but it is enough. It provides quick energy, usually simple carbohydrates, sometimes with added fats and protein, enough to keep your body from falling into exhaustion. Under normal conditions, you can choose better. But under abnormal conditions, you do not need perfect. You need something that works immediately. And that is why you must have it beforehand, not afterward. What matters more is the speed of market reaction. Ready-to-eat food is not rare, but it is the fastest to react to crowd psychology. Just one piece of news, one storm, one power outage, demand spikes within hours. The supply chain cannot respond in time. Shelves empty within days. This is not a prediction. It has happened many times. By the time you clearly see the problem, others have already bought before you. There is a very real story. A neighborhood lost power after a storm. On the first day, everything was still normal. On the second day, food started to spoil. By the third day, the difference became clear. Families with rice and meat, but no way to cook, started to struggle. Meanwhile, those who had ready-to-eat food were much simpler. They did not need to think, did not need to plan. They just ate. One person said something very memorable. "I did not have more, but I did not feel pressure." And that is the real value of this item. In terms of shelf life, most ready-to-eat foods can last from a few months to 1 to 2 years, depending on the type. If you store them in a dry place, away from moisture and high temperatures, they maintain quality very well. You do not need special equipment, do not need refrigeration. But a common mistake is keeping them in humid areas or near the kitchen, which causes packaging to degrade quickly without you noticing. A simple tip is to always store ready-to-eat food in a cool, dry, sealed place, and rotate usage. Use items close to expiration first. Replace gradually. Do not let them sit too long. The way you use them is also more flexible than you think. You do not just eat them directly. You can combine them with water, add them to other dishes, or use them as a quick meal when you do not have time. In an emergency, reducing preparation steps to the minimum is the biggest advantage. And ready-to-eat food does that better than any other type. It is true that it has weaknesses. Higher cost per calorie. Not suitable for long-term use. But you are not buying it to live on long-term. You are buying it to get through periods when your normal system is disrupted. And if you wait until that moment to buy it, the cost you pay is not just money. You lose options, lose time, and most importantly, lose control. One factor many people do not realize is the psychological impact. When everything around you starts becoming unstable, the first thing affected is your mind. You worry, you lose control, you have to think more. In that situation, just being able to open a familiar food and eat immediately removes a major pressure. Not because it tastes better, but because you still have control over part of your life. And in a crisis, that sense of calm has great value. If you do not have ready-to-eat food, you depend entirely on external conditions. You need electricity, need water, need time. When those are gone, you are not just lacking food, you lose the ability to respond quickly. On the other hand, with just a few ready-to-eat items, you solve a major problem immediately without needing to think further. One small but very important point is, do not rely on just one type. When you have to eat the same thing repeatedly, that monotony will lower your morale very quickly. Variety is not to make food taste better, but to maintain a sense of normalcy. And that is what you need most when everything around you is no longer normal. Ready-to-eat food is not something you need every day, but it is something you will need immediately when things start to go off track. And honestly, if everything stopped tonight, do you have something you can open and use right away? Or are you still waiting for certain conditions before you can eat? 5. Powdered food. The thing that keeps you healthy when things start to run short. Powdered food is something many people overlook. Not because it is unimportant, but because it does not create the same sense of urgency as rice or ready-to-eat food. You see it and think it is optional. But the danger is, this is something you realize too late. When a crisis drags on, this is often the first part missing from your diet. Not calories, not food, but real nutrition. And by the time you realize it, your body has already started to decline. Things like powdered milk or powdered eggs are not meant to fill you up. Their real role is to fill the gaps that basic foods do not provide. When you eat rice, noodles, beans, or canned food for many days, you can still survive, still have energy, but your body starts lacking micronutrients. Vitamins and minerals do not disappear immediately. They decline gradually, quietly, and you do not notice until it starts affecting your health. You do not get sick on the first day. You do not see a clear problem on the second day. But by the third or fourth day, you start to feel more tired, slower. Your mind is no longer as sharp as before. You are still eating enough, but you are no longer at your best. And in a situation that requires alertness, even a small decline is a major disadvantage. Powdered food addresses exactly that weakness. It is concentrated nutrition, easy to absorb, and most importantly, extremely easy to store. If kept dry, sealed, away from moisture and high temperatures, powdered milk or powdered eggs can remain stable for a few months to over a year, even longer with proper packaging. You do not need a refrigerator. Do not need complex systems. just a dry corner in your home is enough. In a system where electricity and transportation can be disrupted at any time, items that do not depend on a cold chain become a major advantage. Its strength lies in its simplicity and effectiveness. It is light, does not take up much space, easy to transport, and flexible in use. You can mix it for a quick drink when you do not have time. Add it to rice, porridge, or combine it with other foods to increase nutritional value without complicated cooking. In limited conditions, just a small scoop can make a noticeable difference for your body. But there is one thing you cannot ignore. It requires water. And this is exactly why it must be seen as part of a system, not a standalone item. Without water, you can hardly use it effectively. But if you have water, this becomes one of the fastest and easiest ways to deliver nutrition into your body without needing any additional conditions. One family once shared a very telling experience. They had enough food for many days. No shortage of rice, no shortage of canned goods. But after a while, they realized their bodies were gradually declining. Not because of hunger, but because of lack of nutrients. They said something very simple. We had enough food, but we did not have enough nutrition. And that is the difference many people do not realize until they go through it. The difference between surviving and maintaining stability lies in details like this. You can exist on basic carbohydrates and protein, but to maintain your condition, keep your mind sharp, and avoid decline after a few days, you need more than that. And powdered food is exactly the missing piece in your simple food system. The reason you should prepare it early is not because it will disappear first, but because it is the easiest thing to forget. When people start buying, they focus on visible items like rice, noodles, canned food. But that imbalance in preparation is exactly what makes you weaken after a few days. And by the time you realize you need to add nutrition, you are already in a reactive position. A small but valuable tip is, do not keep all powdered food in one place or rely on just one type. Divide it, rotate usage, and prioritize using opened packages first to avoid moisture. If possible, choose multi-layer sealed packaging or good moisture protection, because just a little moisture can ruin everything. It is not something you need a lot of, but it is something you should not lack. Because you do not feel its value immediately, it is easy to overlook. But when your body starts to decline, when you feel tired without understanding why, that is usually too late to fix it quickly. And honestly, if in the next few days you only eat familiar foods like rice, noodles, or canned goods, are you sure you are lacking energy? Or lacking something more important that you have not realized yet? 4. Cooking oil. A quiet but decisive source of energy. Cooking oil is something almost no one thinks about when preparing, and that is exactly why many people fall into low energy without understanding why. It does not disappear first. It does not draw attention. But when you realize you need it, it is usually when your body has already started to decline. Under normal conditions, you use oil as a supporting ingredient. But in a shortage situation, its role changes completely. This is the most concentrated source of calories you can store. A small amount of oil can provide far more energy than the same amount of rice or starch. And when you are eating less but need to stay active, that energy density is what keeps you going. The problem is, you will not notice it right away when it is missing. You still eat, still feel like you have something to eat. But your body gradually becomes more tired, slower, weaker without a clear reason. This is not a lack of food, but a lack of the right kind of energy. And that is one of the most dangerous types of deficiency because it happens quietly. It does not stop at energy. Oil is also a factor that helps the body absorb vitamins. Important vitamins like A, D, E, K all require fat to be absorbed effectively. If you eat enough but lack fat, your body is essentially wasting part of that nutrition. In the short term, you may not notice it clearly, but after a few days, the decline will begin to appear. The strength of oil lies in how easy it is to store. If stored properly, cooking oil can remain stable from 6 months to over a year, depending on the type. More stable oils like coconut oil or olive oil tend to maintain quality longer if kept sealed, away from light and high temperatures. You do not need a refrigerator, do not need special equipment. Just a cool, dry place away from direct sunlight is enough. But because it seems easy, many people store it incorrectly. Oil is very sensitive to heat and light. If you keep it near the stove, near a window, or in a hot place, the quality will degrade faster than you expect, even spoil without obvious signs. A simple but effective tip is to always keep oil in a dark bottle, tightly sealed, and placed where temperature changes are minimal. If you open it frequently, prioritize using opened bottles first and avoid storing too much of one type for too long. In terms of use, oil is not just for cooking. In limited situations, you can add a small amount directly to rice, noodles, or any meal to increase energy without increasing the amount of food. This is very effective when you do not have much food, but still need to maintain strength. A little oil can make a bigger difference than you think. There is a very practical story. Someone once shared that, during a difficult period, they had enough rice and basic food, but always felt tired, weak, and easily exhausted. They thought they needed to eat more, but the issue was not quantity. It was the quality of energy. When they started adding oil to their meals, their condition improved noticeably within just a few days. That shows that sometimes the problem is not a lack of food, but a lack of the right thing the body needs. The reason you should prepare oil early is not because it will run out immediately, but because it is the easiest thing to forget. When people start buying, they focus on rice, noodles, canned food, the obvious items. But that imbalance in the system is exactly what makes you weaken after a few days. And by the time you realize you need oil, you are already in a reactive position. Oil is not noticeable, not often mentioned, but it is what keeps your entire energy system functioning properly. You may have enough food, but without oil, you are still not in good condition. And honestly, looking at what you are preparing right now, are you sure you have enough energy? Or just enough to not feel hungry? 3. Long-term protein. Canned meat, canned fish are what you will not be able to buy in time. Protein is not something that disappears slowly. It is something that leaves the shelf before you understand what is happening. You still see meat, eggs, milk there until the system starts to slow down. Just a few days of disruption, fresh meat spoils, eggs are harder to keep, milk almost loses its value if the cold chain breaks. And when you return to the store at that point, the issue is no longer rising prices. It is that you no longer have options. This is not because protein is rare. It is because everyone understands its importance. When there are signs of instability, people do not buy more starch. They go for protein first. And that is exactly why canned meat and canned fish shelves are always the first to be emptied, often within 48 to 72 hours. You are not lacking because it does not exist. You are lacking because you did not buy in time. Your body does not need protein to feel full, but to maintain. It preserves muscle, supports recovery, and keeps energy from dropping too quickly. When stress continues, your body consumes more, and protein demand increases. But the dangerous part is, you do not notice the deficiency right away. You still eat, still have calories, but your body begins to decline. You get tired faster, weaker, less focused. There is no clear signal, just that you can no longer maintain a normal state. There is a very real statement many people have experienced. I do not feel hungry, but I have no strength left. That is protein deficiency. It is not loud, but it pulls you down very quickly. And by the time you realize it, it is usually too late to fix immediately. The solution is not to eat more, but to prepare the right type of protein that can exist independently of the system. Canned meat, canned fish, dry beans, protein powder. But among these, canned meat and canned fish are the fastest response. You open them and use them. No cooking, no water, no time needed. While beans require cooking and protein powder requires mixing, canned protein is almost completely independent of external conditions. In terms of shelf life, this is its biggest strength. If kept sealed, stored in a dry place, away from heat and direct sunlight, canned meat and canned fish can remain stable from 1 to 3 years. No refrigerator, no special equipment needed. But do not be careless. Dented, swollen, rusted cans or anything with unusual signs are warnings not to use them. A common mistake is storing them in hot places like near the stove or where temperatures fluctuate, which degrades quality faster than you realize. The way you use them is also a clear advantage. You can eat them directly, combine them with rice, noodles, or any carbohydrate source. No preparation is required, and if you have conditions, you can heat them. But the key point is, you are not required to do anything extra. In a situation where everything requires extra steps, the thing that requires none helps you maintain rhythm. One factor many people overlook is exchange value. During times when the system is disrupted, items that can be used immediately and whose value is universally understood become units of exchange. Canned meat and canned fish fall into that category. You do not need to explain, do not need to convince. Everyone knows their value. And in some situations, they can be more important than money. The strength is very clear. Long shelf life, easy to use, not dependent on a cold chain. But the weakness is also clear. You have to prepare early. This is not something you wait and buy later. When demand increases, it does not rise gradually, it spikes quickly. Shelves empty fast, prices rise fast, and choices disappear fast. You are not lacking because it does not exist. You are lacking because you were one step behind. Protein is not something you notice immediately when it is missing, but it is what your body pays for the fastest. You may have enough food, but without protein, you cannot maintain a normal state. You still survive, but you no longer function effectively. And honestly, if in the next few days you only eat basic foods like rice and noodles, are you sure you have enough strength? Or are you just holding on without realizing your body is declining? 2. Rice. The thing you only realize the value of when it is gone. People who have lived through hunger do not ask what tastes good today. They ask if there is still rice. There are simple statements like that, but only those who have experienced it truly understand their meaning. In difficult times, the most valuable thing in a household is not money, not assets, but a remaining sack of rice in the corner of the house. Some families had to cook thin porridge, dividing it into small bowls for everyone. Some people held on to each handful of rice as if holding on to tomorrow. And the most frightening part was not the hunger at that moment, but the feeling of not knowing if there would be anything left to eat the next day. What is notable is that before things became that way, life still felt normal. Markets were open, rice was abundant. No one thought there would be a shortage. And that is the biggest problem. Rice does not disappear the way you expect. It does not vanish overnight. There is no clear warning. It is still there, but gradually less. Prices gradually rise. The bags become smaller, choices decrease, and at some point, when you truly need it, you realize it is no longer as accessible as before. In most crises, rice is always one of the first items to be cleared out, often within the first 48 to 72 hours. Not because it is rare, but because it is foundational. It is the cheapest, most accessible, and most efficient source of energy. 1 kilogram of rice can feed a family for many days, keeps you full longer, easy to cook, and easy to combine with whatever else is available. When things become unstable, people do not look for tasty food. They look for something that keeps them from being hungry. And rice is the simplest answer. But here is what many people do not realize until it is too late. Having rice does not necessarily mean you are safe. If stored incorrectly, rice can spoil faster than you think. Moisture causes mold. Insects destroy it from the inside. High temperatures reduce quality. You can have an entire bag of rice, but when you need it, it is no longer usable. And that is the most dangerous type of loss, because you think you have prepared, but in reality, you have nothing left. Storing rice is not complicated, but it requires discipline. Rice must be kept sealed, completely protected from moisture, stored in a dry place with stable temperature. If possible, divide it into smaller portions instead of keeping one large bag to reduce risk. A simple but effective tip is to use airtight containers or moisture-resistant bags, and always rotate usage. Use older stock first, add new stock later. People who prepare well do not store once and forget. They maintain a system that is always ready. The strength of rice is clear. Cheap, easy to cook, stable energy, and can be combined with almost any other food. But its weakness cannot be ignored. It lacks protein and is completely dependent on water. If you do not have water or cannot cook, rice loses its value at the exact moment you need it most. That is why rice cannot stand alone. It must go with water, with a protein source, and with a clear system of use. If you lack rice or a similar carbohydrate source, you fall into a state of hidden hunger. You still eat, still have something to fill your stomach, but not enough energy to sustain activity. You get tired faster, weaker, and everything becomes more difficult. This is not obvious hunger, but a gradual decline you do not notice right away. And when you do realize it, it is usually when your body is no longer in good condition. One very notable thing is the domino effect. When rice starts to increase in price or becomes harder to buy, people shift to noodles, bread, or other carbohydrate sources. And that shift pulls the entire food system with it. It is not just rice that is affected, but all the alternatives also begin to rise in price and decrease in supply. The problem is not one item, but the entire system being affected at the same time. Smart preparation is not waiting until shelves are empty to start buying rice. It is buying when it is still abundant, when prices are stable, when no one is rushing. It is not buying based on emotion, it is building a strategy. Always keep a sufficient amount at home and rotate continuously. Do not stockpile excessively to waste, but also do not put yourself in a shortage situation. Do not wait for a crisis to react. Prepare before it begins, because the issue is not whether you buy rice or not. The issue is whether you buy it in time. And honestly, when was the last time you bought rice without thinking about the price, without worrying it might run out? 1. Water. The thing that determines everything, but is always underestimated. You can survive without many things for a few days. But without water, you have no options at all. This is not food, but it is what determines whether you can use any other food. Without water, rice is useless. Without water, protein has no meaning. Without water, every plan you prepared beforehand almost stops immediately. This is not part of a survival system. It is the foundation of the entire system. The danger is that water does not disappear in a way that makes you alert. You still turn on the tap, water still flows, everything still feels normal. And that normality is exactly what makes you not prepare. But in many incidents that have happened, from power outages to natural disasters or infrastructure disruptions, clean water is always one of the first things affected. Not because it is rare, but because it depends on too many factors. Electricity to pump, systems to treat, networks to distribute. Just one link fails. The entire system stops. And when water stops, everything stops with it. Not gradually, but almost immediately. An average person needs at least 3 to 4 liters of water per day, not just for drinking, but also for cooking, hygiene, and maintaining basic activities. But that number only applies when everything is stable. When the weather is hotter, when you are more active, when stress continues, water demand becomes even higher. That means just a few days of disruption can already push you into a shortage. And when that happens, the market reaction is predictable. People start buying water, not gradually, but immediately. Demand spikes, supply cannot respond in time, and in a very short period, you will see empty shelves. This is not rare. It has happened many times. By the time you see clear signs, water has already been bought before you. The problem is not just rising prices. The problem is you may not be able to buy it at all. There is a very simple but thought-provoking story. Someone once lost access to water for 3 days. They did not lack food. They still had rice, canned goods, plenty of things at home. But they could not use any of it. They could not cook, could not prepare anything. Even basic hygiene became a problem. And at that moment, they understood something they had never thought about before. The issue was not lacking food, but lacking the ability to use it. Water is not something that is nice to have. It is something that, without it, everything else becomes meaningless. In terms of storage, water is not difficult, but it is easy to become careless. Bottled water can last a long time if unopened and stored in a cool place away from direct sunlight. But once opened, it should be used within a short time. A common mistake is storing water in hot places or exposing it to light for long periods, which reduces quality without you noticing immediately. A simple approach is to always store water in a stable temperature environment and rotate usage like food. Use older stock first and replace with new. In addition, people who prepare well do not just store water. They also think about how to use it and have backup plans. They do not rely entirely on one source. They divide, distribute, and always have a plan if the main supply is disrupted. Because they understand that water is not something you can quickly replace when it is gone. The strength of water is clear. Absolutely essential. No substitute. Immediate impact. But precisely because it is always available in daily life, it is the most underestimated. You do not think about it until you no longer have it. And when you realize, you usually have no options left. So the issue is not whether you have water or not. The issue is whether you have enough water when the system stops. And honestly, right now, if the water supply stopped for 3 days, do you have enough to maintain? Or are you assuming everything will continue as normal? You do not need to prepare everything, but you cannot afford to ignore the fundamentals. Water, rice, protein, and ready-to-eat food are not options. They are the system that keeps you stable when everything around you stops. A crisis does not come the way you expect, and it does not give you time to fix mistakes. When shelves are still full, that is the easiest time to act, because by the time you clearly see the problem, others have already bought before you. But if you think that is enough, you are missing something more important. In the next video, I will share 12 types of food you should stock up on before a storm hits. And most people only realize it when it is too late. And honestly, if everything stopped for 3 days, are you ready?